Welcome, everyone. I'm Muriel.
And I'm Sharon, and we are Abracadabra Sisters. Well, Abracadabra Sisters is about exploring creativity. The word abracadabra means as I speak, I create. And what we're doing out here is we're trying to have conversations with creative people and talk to them about how they manifest their own creativity and to try and inspire people to do the same.
Today, we have a wonderful guest. Don Lowe is a fabulous musician, a writer, writes music. And I see here, I have a list here of some things. He's been featured in venues of all types across the Eastern Corridor. He's famous here. Just about anywhere that there's an event, you might find him playing outside and under a band shell or inside somewhere. But he has played with national acts such as Tom Rush, the Little River Band, Livingston Taylor, Steve Forbert, Kenny White, and the list goes on and on and on. I don't know if you have a favorite, Don, but I'm impressed. So,
Oh, thank you.
so, but not only is he a great musician and author of music, I don't know if is that how you would say it? I don't know, but
I guess so, or songwriter,
yeah,
yeah.
songwriter, but he's also our first selectman, or as many of you may think him, a mayor. So he's famous in our town. So that that is a lot of creativity on your part, a lot of manifestation of amazing things. So we wanted to get into it and ask you, how did you start as a musician and how did you end up as the mayor or as the first selectman?
There are questions that are kind of long answers to them. I just started, I grew up in a little town of about, well, I grew up in a farm outside of a town of about 100 people in North Dakota, and took an interest in playing the guitar in high school and taught myself a few chords and uh, it kind of went like that. Eventually got good enough. I raised enough money to buy myself an electric guitar and a little amp, and I ended up playing in a couple of rock bands, local rock bands, and that was a lot of fun. And almost immediately, when I learned chords, I started writing songs and things. I've written hundreds of songs. I've forgotten many more songs that I have written. I've forgotten more than I can remember, actually.
Do you have records of them all?
I have two CDs that are purchasable and other recordings as well. Uh,
Do you write like write it down on paper as well as you come up with something
well,
or
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You writing, songwriting. I don't know what everybody's process is. I've talked to a few other songwriters. For me, I start fooling around with the guitar, um, and it's usually sort of like a release state or something. Where I really need to just not think about anything else, but just let myself go on the guitar, and will come to me. Melodies come to me fairly easily, and then if a melody kind of sticks with me or remains for the next day, I'll work with it, and then the hardest part is putting words to the songs. And in my case, I won't bore you with this too long, but in my case, the way I do it is I just start making funny noises and
Oh, I love that.
yeah,
That's
you'll have a
interesting.
melody
Yeah.
and you start making, and then I have to know. I can't write songs. I don't write image songs, and most songs really are just image songs. They don't follow sort of a story. I have to have a subject in a story, more like. Are you familiar, like with John Prine, for instance? Is that a songwriter you're familiar with? I'm
Yes.
probably more apt to write a John Prine style song than I am a James Taylor song, which is
Hmm.
like say Fire and Rain. That's sort of a series of images, and it kind of can mean a lot of different things. It's just such a gorgeous song, and the words go together so well. But my songs um, tend to follow sort of a story and things.
There's a statue of Paul Bunyan in Bemidji, Minnesota. I can see it from the motor inn I'm in. And Helen came from Huron through the bitter cold and snow, trying to save me from the shape that I was in. I told her I was doing fine. She said, "Shut up, you're still the same." And the pain spilled out like the bottle she just poured down the drain. Well, I sobered up and we drove off on promises and gasoline and a little Benzedrine she didn't find. Helen told me take a nap. She said, "I'll get us back to Huron." And I said, "Honey, from here on I'll be good." But she didn't laugh, not even close, though I thought she should. And for 90 miles of silence, I was Paul Bunyan made of wood. Well, Helen slowed her Chevy down somewhere in Eagle Bend, in front of Christmas lights outside a redneck bar. She said, "I'll always love you." She puffed a Pall Mall in the dark. Then she told me, get the hell out of her car. I threw everything I owned inside a Walgreens bag and left, while a trillion frozen stars shone on my speedy head.
The main thing is this weird alchemy between words and music. And this is why sometimes, back when we used to buy albums and we'd read the lyrics on the back of the album, and
Yeah.
the lyrics, on their own, if you don't know the song, look kind of lame sometimes. Even like Elton John, who has this brilliant lyricist who works with him and and all. But when the music comes, the words aren't lame at all. They make perfect sense. They sound beautiful, and it's important to make the words sound with the music when you play it. I don't know how else to say that really, but there's a
Mhm.
blending of the two, and if you force a word in there or something like that, it stands out like a sore thumb, and you want to make it all just go together. I think Elton John is an example of just kind of a all-encompassing songwriter. His melodies are just incomparable in many ways. So,
Well, what was his name? Bernie Taupin, right? That was
yeah,
his
Bernie
lyricist name.
writes his
Yeah.
lyrics, and he would they would do it a little bit differently. He would do it exactly opposite of me. He would take these lyrics that Bernie would come
Yeah.
up with, and then he would put melodies to them. And I've had a little bit of success with that, but that doesn't work as well for me as having the melody first and then putting the words to it.
Yeah, a friend of mine was for many, many, many years Elton John's publicist.
Oh,
So
wow.
she knows him personally, and I kind of a vague recollection that at one point Elton said, I don't know what half of those lyrics mean." It's just just
Yeah,
because those lyrics, a lot of them just don't make sense, but they do have an interesting, exciting structure to them,
right.
which then Elton John just leaps into. So, yeah.
Yeah,
And as another funny thing, as we were talking, I was thinking of how many songs we know that are famous songs. We've grown up with them, we've heard them all the time, but and you hear the lyric in your head, but then you find out that that's not what they were singing.
Yeah.
You kind of made up something else that you
And
heard.
it's such a letdown too, because you really loved the lyrics you
Well,
thought they were.
Yeah.
that plays into something I truly believe in, which is, and I've run a lot of open mics, and I've seen a lot of songwriters, trying out their material, and and most of them make the mistake of talking about their song before they play it, and it's not only boring, but it's also, don't tell your audience what your song's about. Let your audience live it and things, because
Yeah, don't
just
tell
like,
them how to feel, right? That's what you
yeah,
should
just like
do.
you just said, it can be really disappointing sometimes. I
Right,
remember this one
right.
girl. She was such an intriguing girl, and she kind of was the whole package, really. And she would come. She sang beautifully, and she had one particular song that I would always hope that she would play at the open mic that I was hosting, and and it was just, it was lovely. It had all kinds of interesting lyric twists and things that were brought things to mind. I was pretty sure I knew what it meant to me and everything. And then one night she introduced it and she said, I was having a case of writer's block, so I just took a whole bunch of titles of books and just put them all together.
Oh, wow.
And so I discovered this song that I was kind of falling in love with was just a vapid piece of happenstance, and it sort of pulled me out of the song completely from then on.
But Don, I think this is part of what we're talking about. I don't think there is vapid happenstance. I think there's, people can sometimes somebody can say something on the street to you and it could be the most meaningful
Well,
thing
that's
ever.
true.
And they just like tossed out, oh, you look like an artist today. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, somebody recognizes me. And yet they were just like,
That's very true. Yeah,
so
that's true.
But then if you believe that, like, creativity, or what, this comes from above, this comes from the divine, when you just blurt out whatever is on the top of your tongue, um it has meaning. Even if it didn't have meaning for you, it had meaning for the person you said it to.
The only exception to that is a song strung together by a bunch of book titles. There we go.
you're clinging to that. Okay.
Yeah.
Then again, she was guided to those book
You know
titles.
what? You're right. And
Yeah.
there you have a very good point, Sharon. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Definitely.
all, the whole thing speaks to how fascinating creativity and creating is, and
Yeah.
on in any art form and on any level. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I too had a guitar when I was in high school or junior high school, and I learned how to play. There is a house on New Orleans, in New Orleans, and
There you
sing it
go.
with it.
The
But
House of the Rising Sun.
I did not pursue it. I did not have songs come into my head. I did not figure out how to play anything else except for maybe what's that, like dun 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 on the piano, I even
Yeah.
had a piano for a while and I can do all kinds of things with my hands, but finding the right key and reaching for those right keys was just so difficult. So, we each have our path to go, and so you entertain so many people with your talents and skills, and it's wonderful.
Don't you sometimes think, I mean, talent is a combination of the ability to do something and the desire to do something. If
Yeah.
you had stuck with it, who knows what you would have created.
Yeah.
Had access to the same piano, and I had access to a guitar, and our parents even paid for lessons for me. And I quit the lessons because I didn't like the way my teacher smelled like cigarettes.
Oh,
And I was like, I got
that
sick
was
and
enough.
tired of, like,
It's
and
always
but
something. Yeah.
instead of, I didn't have the moxie to say I need another teacher. He stinks,
Yeah.
literally. Uh, I
Hmm.
just said, oh, I don't want to take those classes anymore, and I kind of cheated myself out of an experience. But then again, maybe I wasn't that into it, because if I was, I would have demanded another teacher.
Yeah. so I've seen you playing in the band shell in New Milford, and I see you have a lot of different venues that you go to. Do you have a favorite place that you like to play, or a favorite kind of an event?
I I play a lot of different kind of venues, and it takes some adjusting on my part to do it. Sometimes you're in the corner of some restaurant. You and you have to realize what you're there for. You're there for background music, and so you're doing that. Or sometimes breweries and wineries are a little bit different, and often people are watching, and you can kind of put on a show and joke around between songs and talk in the middle of your songs and I usually try to make people laugh
Yeah.
so that's a different kind of a venue. But my definitely my favorite venue has our singer-songwriter venues where you play your own music.
Anybody who knows me knows I'm a big fan of Elvis Presley. Like him. You need a Cadillac? Okay. It's a song I wrote on behalf of Elvis Presley. It's called Brand New Cadillac. Well, if I was Elvis Presley, I'd buy you a brand new Cadillac. Choose your favorite color, get all shook up, I'd be fine with that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But all I got is this heart full of soul, and this hunk of burning love. Come on, baby, let's rock and roll. Well, I know times are pretty tough. I heard it on talk radio, but don't you know I can talk right back. If I was Elvis Presley, I'd buy you a brand new Cadillac.
Or even better yet, when I've opened for some pretty notable people, and that's a lot of fun. Some people don't like opening for people, but I actually like it. I think it's a lot of fun.
Great, great.
So, do you have like a band? I mean, do you have other musicians that you play with regularly, or?
I have in the past. There's people that I could probably call upon, but I have abandoned bands, or the concept of that, except on a very rare occasion uh, a while ago. It's just, someone calls me for a gig, and I don't have to check with four people, and is everybody available and all of that, and you have to split up the money three ways or four ways or two ways, and um, uh, I prefer not to have to do that.
So
And
just like you and your guitar, right?
yeah, it's just simpler that way. I think if of anything, I wouldn't mind somebody with me who could really sing nice harmony, along with, play either either a violin or a lead instrument while I play. And I've played with those kinds of people, and it's really nice.
Yeah.
It's nice, but it's also economically, uh, it cuts everything in half.
Well, I had an uncle when I was a kid. He looked like blonde Elvis, I swear that he did. Told Norwegian jokes that he learned in a bar. Had pretty girlfriends, drove a shiny fast car. He went off to fight in the Vietnam War, brought back a fight that he fought a lot more. The pills and the booze, we loved them like crazy, we loved them like fools. We loved them like crazy, we loved them like fools.
So you made a big pivot at some point from full-time music did you work full time as a musician, or did you teach at all? I mean, because then you became our first selectman. So uh,
Well, really, my what I came to the East Coast to do was to be an actor, and I came to New York in 1983. I had an acting career till about 1997 when I decided I'm going to stop doing this.
I'm
And
surprised I never saw you out there at some point because I was working on a lot of film sets and
oh,
television
really?
sets and daytime TV, and I was very often
I
dressing the people that showed up. So
I had small roles on daytime TV. That was where I my agents would kind of place me. They thought I'd belonged on soap operas at the time, and
yeah,
I worked on All My Children and Guiding Light quite a bit, and One Life to Live, the New York soaps, you
yeah,
know.
I was
And
on both of those shows, Well Life to Live and Guiding Light.
oh,
I couldn't tolerate it enough to really be there full time, so I would come in when my friends, the designers, needed extra help, and then I would come in and help, dress people, run shop, go shopping, do the books or something like that. But because we called it a viper pit. It was such an
yeah.
awful place to work,
Well,
really.
they really churn out the product. I mean, the
Yeah,
soap opera, the show must go on, and uh, they have to do that hour, hour show every day,
yeah, yeah.
and get it in the books and get it on tape and all. It's quite a machine, I'll tell you,
It certainly is.
everything.
Yeah.
I was just talking to somebody about this on Sunday at the JCC brunch, who was asking me about my acting career, and they asked if I was, disappointed the way it turned out, that I probably didn't have the success that maybe I had hoped, or I was somewhat slated for. I'd had some wonderful opportunities, and uh, and I gave a funny answer, but it was an honest answer. I'm grateful I didn't have any success, and it's a constant climb, no matter where you are. If you're a frequent guest star, you want to be the star. If you're a
If you're the star, you want to be the star of something bigger.
yeah, you want to be the star. If you're a star of a television show, you want to be the star of movies. And I had friends go through this, but the worst part too is if you have a little bit of success, especially at a young age, and then you're clawing away trying to. I've seen, and I'm not putting them down whatsoever, but I on Facebook, I still have friends that I see, and I wonder how they're doing, because it's been 30 years now, and they're still, you know, doing this thing. And for me, my life has, blossomed since I stopped acting. My life really blossomed. I was kind of emerged from that business, kind of a shell of a person, really. I had taken most of my self-confidence away. I was very shy, and I began doing things where I used my brain. And I think it was 12 or 14 years of doing a lot of work for money that didn't require really much responsibility in my part, carrying a plate of hors d'oeuvres around and stuff like that. And nothing wrong with that either. I'm not putting anyone down, but it didn't exercise some of the things that I think I'm actually have learned that I've got some talent in. And anyway, from that, slowly we moved up here, and I began to get involved with the town, little by little. Ran for First Selectman in 2015. I lost just by a little bit. They talked me into giving it a try the next year, and I won. And I've been doing it. I'm in my ninth year as the mayor of this town.
And you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks for saying that. I try as hard as I can.
And you just have a great presence about you. So you're not like hiding in the office. You're out with the people, even though some people can get a little like cranky about things like garbage cans, and stuff like that.
Honestly, when somebody brings something to my attention that they would like to see improved, I thank them. It's their eyes out there, uh, and I take advantage of their observations, and we try to improve on those things.
So does getting back to the topic of creativity, there's
Yes,
probably a certain amount of creativity and you finding solutions to the problems that come to you as first selectman.
it's a different kind of creativity. Um, I'm going to tell you this, and it's not something I'm real happy about, and it's something I've been trying to solve the last few years. But I used to write, 3 or 4 songs a week, and I have written professionally. I wrote a couple of books that I was hired to write, and I wrote what is a beautiful novel, although I just couldn't sell it to anybody in New York or get an agent for it. But it's still sitting on my computer and everything. And then I've did a lot of creative process, written hundreds of poems. All of the stuff had to come out of me, and it wasn't really work. Really, it was just stuff that came out of me. There's a point to what I'm saying, and I know I'm going on a little bit about this, but since I've had this first selectman's job, I have not been as creative. I'm outperforming, but I'm not as privately creative as I used to be, and I'm trying to solve that in some ways. So
Hmm.
Well, it
But
has its own creativity, doesn't it? Being first selectman, you have to, I mean, yes, you want to do your writing and your music and stuff like that. Um, you have that. You have a lot that you've done. So, and I know. I mean, I'm always wanting to do more, and sometimes I look at it and I think, what am I going to do next? I get myself bollocksed up,
yeah,
I like, but
I
you
think you're right, Mariel. I mean, I think there's a lot of creativity in the first selectman's job, and by the time I go home at night, I'm pretty tapped out,
yeah, of
you know,
course.
creative wise. I've worked through a lot of situations with people and all. I carry this job. I carry a little bit of stress with it and all too. And what I'm trying to do right now is find a way to use that stress to start creating again. And
Mm.
I've got a book thing that I'm kind of working on, and then I'm always trying to write songs, so that's good.
Yeah. Well, with your finished book, there's always self-publishing. A lot of people are having
Yeah,
huge success with self-publishing.
I know. I should do that maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
it's there. It's been even.
You'd have to figure out the best way to actually publish it that you could make money. Like I published mine with something called Ingram Spark. And I think if they sell a book, I get a penny, which is absurd.
Right.
It's just absolutely absurd. But I think you can publish even through Amazon and you get more money from your book if you publish it that way.
Sure.
And the process is pretty, from what I've heard from people, I haven't tried it myself, but it's pretty, straightforward and they'll
Okay.
direct you how to get yourself all the way through that whole process. And
Yeah.
then the marketing part of it is the big trick. I mean, I've been taken advantage of many times, I think, by people who say, "Oh, we're going to market your book for you," and then turns out I spend a couple of $1,000 and really
Mm.
nothing. It didn't go anywhere.
I've heard those kinds of
So
stories. Yeah.
yeah, so you have to be very careful with that. I did after I published my book. I went to a Writer's Digest book conference, book pitch. You can go and pitch to agents at the
Hmm.
conference, and I thought, why didn't I do that before? I mean, there's tons of
Sure.
conferences and stuff like that, writers' retreats and conferences that you can go to, which creates, you start to find the community and find a way in. So that's another thing. But while you're busy, that's going to be hard to focus on all of
Yeah.
that, you know.
Yeah, it can be.
it's very hard to squeeze time for creativity into your world when you're working. I'm working full time and I'm always trying to remind myself to, when I come home, I just want to veg And then I've got a tapestry I'm working on that's like halfway
Mm,
done. And I've got various projects. I actually finished a baby sweater I was working on recently that
good for
kind of
you.
sat there forever without the buttons. It's just the ideas, so many ideas. And usually it's the excitement I have for the next project I want to do that gets me through finishing the one I'm working on. Because by the time I'm creating it, the excitement is in the vision, the
Yeah,
actual.
Right.
yeah, yeah. But I think there's a certain power that is activated in the world when something gets finished, you know, and then when that thing is finished, it creates its own sort of energy. Um, so, making a small thing, something that can be done in an afternoon,
I
and then
like that.
finishing it gives makes a momentum of some
Like a
kind.
couple
So
of easy wins to kind of get
yeah,
you inspired. That's
yeah,
what the baby sweater was. That was an easy
exactly.
win.
Easy wins. Yeah, I like that. That's we need a song, Don.
There we go.
Easy wins.
Easy wins. I like that. Yeah. I like that observation, Muriel, too. I like it very much that there's a certain uh, power or win in the universe, sort of, when you put the finishing touches on something
Yeah.
creative. There
Yeah,
really
I
is.
I need something like that too because my projects tend to be very long ones. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
last
you get
the
yourself in
last thing
deep.
I did took me 2.5 years to finish.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
need
Yeah.
to have like little short projects in there so that I
right,
can actually enjoy finishing something.
right. Yeah, yeah. So the song Easy Wins, people are going to hear Easy Wins,
Yeah.
and then they're going to have a whole other feeling about it.
There we go.
It'll be, it'll be
That's
one thing for
exactly
some
what would
people.
happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Easy wins. I like that idea.
Yeah, yeah. So well, my husband would tell me about a woman that he met many years ago. I think I've mentioned this story before, but she worked in an office and she had to be there like first at 8 o'clock or something to open the door and run the office. But she was determined to finish her science fiction. And
Oh,
so she'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and work for an hour or so between 5 and 6 and keep like slogging ahead with it until she got it done. So we can create our own techniques for how to get something, out of it.
my my writing mentor, when I got my master's degree or my MFA in writing, it was my main mentor was a guy named Donald J. Snyder, whose novels you can read and his nonfiction you can read, and especially through the 90s and early 2000s was very prominent. Wrote that book and then he wrote the screenplay for it, and there's a Hallmark movie. He gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning and writes till 10 every day. I don't, if he's on vacation, he does it. It doesn't really, it's just, it's the same as, my morning coffee in some ways. He just does it. It's not a big accomplishment to him. I've never heard him, he says it, but it's just something he does. I think he very rarely breaks up that routine, and it's not something that he even has to struggle to keep going. And he's a writer.
His
Yeah,
body's used to it.
yeah,
It's funny because I read something recently. I was talking to Muriel about it, about the whole concept of like 8 hours of sleep and how that's a fallacy that was created by the mattress companies. And that
Oh,
like our natural rhythm is that we tend to sleep in 4 hour shifts. Like we'll sleep for four
hmm,
hours, then wake up and then sleep for another 4 hours. Now, maybe for most of us, that means we wake up and go to the bathroom or whatever. But in this article, it was saying that a lot of creative people use that time. Sometimes they'll have a couple of hours between sleep shifts, sleep for 4 hours, get up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, work for a couple of hours. That's the most creative time between the two sleeps.
yeah. I think
So
in Don's
maybe that's
case,
how your friend got into his writing. He's up till midnight, he sleeps till 4, gets up and writes.
yeah, in Don's case, he's what you call a writer, and he I think he would like to do other things, or something like that. But there just isn't any other way for him. The more I've gotten to know him, he's just, you know, his latest thing is he barged his way into Ukraine. He lived in Ukraine and he told the story of this family that lost their husband and their brother and he wrote this story, and
Oh,
wrote this book
Wow.
and lived in pretty dangerous circumstances just to go do it. And
wow.
and he he kept sending me pieces of it as it went along. I can't wait for it to be published. I don't know what the name of this book will be, but it'll be pretty interesting.
Well, that
Yeah, I
sounds
think
interesting. I'd like to know when it's published too.
yeah, it's going to get a lot of attention, I bet.
Yeah,
It's a
I've been,
real honest look at what life is like over there and what's really going on. And I felt like I was living it with him because he would, send me these missives from it. I think I
there's a
interrupted you,
young
sure.
Irish a journalist. I think his name is Colin Robertson, and he does like YouTube vlogs. He does his reports from Ukraine. He just moved there, and he's I watch him every time, everything he puts up. I'm fascinated because through someone like that, we're getting what's really going on, not sanitized
Yeah,
through our media or from an American point of view, most of what we hear.
right,
Yeah.
So
right.
I wanted to ask you a question. You kind of just glossed over your brief career in acting, but I have some questions about it because you went into acting, so obviously you had some early years where it was something you aspired to. You might have had a mentor and you might have, gotten all excited about it and then it didn't work out for you. But I'm interested to know like how you got into it, like why you wanted to be an actor. And also like if you were to look back on it and give advice and to mentor someone else, what advice would you give them if they were going to get into acting and enjoy being in acting?
Well, I got into it in college. I was kind of floundering and I was lost in college and I took a class. I didn't even know what it was. It was called oral interpretation. I did not know what this class entailed. And I got in the class and again, it was sort of my post New York period. This was my post. I was sort of had a lot of success in high school. It was kind of in my tiny little high school. It was very, very small. My class had 11 people in it and stuff.
Oh my goodness.
And
We had thousands of people in our
yeah,
classes.
the whole high school only had, 50 people or something. But I was and college just kind of sapped me in some ways and took all my self-confidence away. It was kind of a strange time, and I put on weight, and I took this class. I was about a junior in college and not doing very well, really, with somewhat purposeless. And I was like, what do we do here? And everybody, you stand up and you read poems, you read stories, and I watched these people doing this, and I was like, God, this is fascinating. It's amazing. And anyway, I just glommed onto that like uh, I can't tell you, and was fascinated at getting better at reading these poems and stories. And then the theater department said, why don't you come and audition for something? And one thing led to the next. And the next thing you know, I was a theater major in college. And I did 20 productions probably or something of all kinds of different things, directed things, wrote plays. And I finally found my people. I found my
Yeah.
people, as they say, and found my thing. And so when I finally graduated from with an undergraduate degree, uh, after 7.5 years, um, I went to New York immediately. Went to New York, and I had a little bit of TV work and commercial work and things like that. But the best thing I did about 20 off Broadway plays, and I was really part of a underground theater scene that I was very proud of. and all. But I had always hoped that one of these plays would take off, or somebody would see me in one of these and it would take off. That was sort of my, everybody has their personal strategy for this. And I studied the Meisner technique. Jim Gandolfini of the Sopranos was one of my best friends and classmates, and for two
Right.
years. He was such a terrific, fun person, and went on to great success. So did a couple of other people in the class. But me, not so much, and all. And but that's where that went. What would I tell somebody who went into this? I would say, I don't even know what I would say, Sharon, anymore. I understand you go to an audition now, and instead of reading, for the part or anything, one of the first things they ask you is how many followers you have and how many,
I,
you know,
that,
uh, which makes me even, more joyous that I'm not part of it and everything.
mm,
Um, I would, I told somebody one time, they said, I said, it's a hard business, if your child wants to go into it, there's not much you can do, I guess. But, and they said, yeah, we're so worried. Failing is so hard. I said, nah, failing isn't so bad. The success is really where you're going to have a lot of problems. I said, so, and you can take that for whatever that means. But that's what I
yeah.
have seen in my time is a taste of success, uh, can lead to all kinds of things.
I always used to say when people used to say, "Oh, you want to be rich and famous?" I was like, "No, I want to be rich. I don't necessarily want to be famous."
Yeah, well, yeah,
Well, I can tell you some things about what I think about going to the theater, having been in the theater for many, many, many years and been in it in two colleges and graduate school, that it teaches you or gives you the opportunity to solve all kinds of problems.
yeah,
When you're working in the theater, you need to figure all kinds of things out. It gives you the opportunity to work very closely and intimately with other people. So you learn how to really work in a team. It teaches you how to speak well, how to communicate well with people. So
yeah.
I've very often said to people who said to me, well, I want to go into business. I say, well, take a theater class when you're in college because you're going to want to learn how to speak. You're going to want to learn how to present, make
That's true.
presentations, things like that. For me, I had a fear of heights. And I decided that I wanted to get over it. I don't want to be like, like held back by anything. So I signed up for light crew and I
There we
went
go.
up into
Wow.
the flies and hung the lights because I just had to get over that. And so, there's a lot of opportunities to really know yourself, get next to yourself and learn and that's why the community is so wonderful because you're exposing yourself how you feel about things in when you're working in a play together with people. You learn how to manage your emotions because you need to figure out how to make an emotion show. So you learn about your inner being,
Yes.
you learn about your relative being to other people, and then there's the solving of the problems like how the heck do we move that flat from there to there when that light boom is in the way there, you know, that kind of stuff. And then you learn about timing, how important timing is. You learn how to memorize, how to make sure that you remember all your lines and that you remember what time you're supposed to be at the theater. And a lot of people who would forget those things, because they were still young. Um, I think from my experience, and having been an educator in the theater, that it's really perhaps one of the most fertile and useful places to be to get a multiple array of skills and sorted out and to learn about yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
could you learn about yourself when you're studying law or when you're studying, you know, brain surgery or, you know, do you learn about yourself in these other
Yeah, I don't know.
places? I don't know.
Yeah.
But you
There's
certainly do in the theater.
Yeah, in the theater, you are managing, you're spinning a lot of plates when no
Yes.
matter what role you are in whether you're on the tech side or if you're in the performer side, and you have to be on time, you have to manage your relationships off the stage, and all, and do well with that. There's just so many things. Oftentimes, you're all housed together in dressing rooms and things. There's even some learning experiences there that you
Oh,
don't encounter in any other workplace.
yes, we had a lot of times I was running wardrobe because I was designing the costumes. So then there would be like kerfuffles in the dressing room, people like taking other people's towels and like little fights with stuff,
Yeah,
so you have to figure all
you
that
have to
stuff
kind of
out.
work through this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And
And
there's
yeah, and then behind and on top of the whole thing, you have to keep the magic for the audience. So you have to
exactly.
keep that all
Yeah,
behind the stage. The
Yes.
thing that always amazed me, because we grew up in theater, our parents were involved in community theater. What always amazed me is like when you're on the stage and you're looking at the set and it's like so seedy looking. And it's like,
But
you're
it
like,
looks charming under the lights
and then
from the
you
audience.
step back out into the audience, you're like, yeah, that didn't look like a brick wall when I was standing there in looking like right in front of it, but back here, it looks like a brick wall.
it
I,
really
I
is
mean,
magic.
it is
Yeah.
magic. The fact that they
Yeah,
can make the audience believe that you're swimming in a pond or when you're up on a stage. I mean, there's multiple ways that they can create that illusion.
yeah,
Yeah. And I'm sure, Don, you probably are exercising a lot of those skills now in your work as selectman.
yeah. There's times when theater training helps quite a bit in most of the ways that you said, in terms of speech or lots of ways, handling yourself, uh, or there's nothing more panicky on a stage than to forget your lines, and you learn as an actor to not panic, instead
Make it work.
breathe. And
Yeah.
then you're taught this. You're
Yeah.
taught to, in a tense situation, and that somebody else, by the way, it's if you lose your lines, it's really the other people on the stage, the other actors, who it's their responsibility to move you along. And so
Help you out.
it's your
Yeah.
responsibility to stay composed and just hang in there, and all. But there's a little of that that goes on in meetings where things can get kind of, and it helps me to know that I can take a breath here, and think a little bit before I say something. And it doesn't always work. I say the wrong thing sometimes, and but I try not to.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you a funny story of a friend on the stage. This was my friend Doug James, who was the milliner at the Muppets. So he made all the beautiful hats
Oh,
that all these characters were wearing. And he
wow.
was telling us one day in the shop about he had gone back to his college to visit everybody, and he was going to be there for a while. And they were putting on a play, and the person playing King got sick and was dropped out or something and couldn't do it. So they said, "Oh, Doug, would you do it, please?" So he said, "Sure, sure, sure, no problem."
Hmm.
They get him all dressed up, and he's in the crown, and he's got his scimitar or whatever, his two like things, whatever, and his long cloak and stuff. And then he's waiting backstage, and then his cue comes up, and he has to go up a couple of steps to get on the stage, and through a curtain at the same time, through the curtain. So he's trying to manage all this stuff and the long cloak and the crown and everything. We're laughing already. I have to keep it together because I'll start laughing hysterically. So he takes his first step and he doesn't realize it, but he stepped into the cloak. So
Oh,
then he takes the second step and he steps further into the cloak. So as he's going up the stairs, his shoulders have to go down because the garment's getting shorter. He gets to the top of the stairs, and his only choice is just roll over. So he rolls on his back over onto the stage, kicks his feet out to get the cloak
Oh
off his
my,
feet, so he can stand up and be the king.
sure.
A very regal entrance.
These things
That sounds,
happen on the stage, right?
that sounds like some Nathan Lane bit or something.
Yeah, I mean, I just like the image of it just makes me laugh. Sometimes I need a laugh and I just think of that and I start laughing. And I'm
That's
crying
nice.
too. Anyway, so yeah, I mean I guess we all have like crazy backstage or on stage stories like that
Yeah, I would like to act again, I think at some point. That's a such a time commitment. It's impossible with my life right now. But
right now. Yeah. Yeah.
I've been asked a couple of times at the Playhouse to do cameo type of roles. There's a
Yeah.
mayor that comes on and Bye Bye Birdie, for instance. They said, "Why don't you come do this for a couple of performances?" But uh, I knew it would require some rehearsals. I knew, and as much as it was tempting to just sort of step back out there again, I said, no,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't know if there's any other like great wisdom you would like to share that you've learned with regards to creative process or getting started or jumping into something new or making a
I
switch from something to another thing.
No, in terms of the creative process, an adage that works for me and is is just to let it come out and let it happen, whatever you're working on. But that's why I reacted so strongly and really liked that thing you said about there's power in finishing something, because in order to finish something, sometimes you've got to take your creative whim, and which is fun to do. You can do that all day, and everything, but you do have to put a little what they call sweat into it
Yeah.
and finish things up. And I think the trick is not to lose the spark while you're kind of grinding it out sometimes, and I'm thinking of both short story and novel writing, and naturally I'm thinking of songwriting, and that there's a point to where you start out very inspired, but you, you need to finish that thing, and
Yeah.
it takes what does he say? There's inspiration and perspiration. You need both.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have one particular painting that I was working on
Yeah.
over a year ago, and it stymied me. I'm not thrilled with it. Other people look at it and say, "Oh, it's beautiful, Muriel. Just but it's
Sure.
not. It doesn't feel. It's not right yet." And I got to redo it, and it's kind of stopped me from painting. Then I was making a flag all last year, so that really was, I kept my creative stuff going and got a big project finished. But I got to get back to that painting because it's haunting me.
Yeah.
It's like you
But don't
need,
let it stop your other work. And there's
right?
nothing wrong with having three or four or five or six or seven or eight things going at once too.
Yeah,
I've learned that, and I think this is not a judgmental statement, but I think it's not great to you have that one group. I've met many people in my life who've said, "Yeah, I've been working on my great novel now for 25 years," or, well, it'll be a project like that. It's been their life's work, and
mm,
and that's good, but you've got to do other work besides your life's work, I think, and I think it's a type of stalling in a sense, and all. And the people that are pretty, especially in the writing business and the song, I don't know anything about the songwriting business any further than performing them and recording them and selling my CDs at performances. And it's really basically a self-publishing thing. So I'm not qualified to talk about the songwriting business at all. But the writing business, I've had a lot of people that I've worked with and been helped by and been in contact with. And you got to keep, if you want to make it in that, you got to keep writing, and you got to write regularly, and you just got to keep going and going and going. And um, it's harmful for me to even talk about the fact that I've got a novel written that it's sitting on my thing, because the fact of the matter is that should just be what they call my trunk novel. The one that sits that never leaves the trunk of your car. And in the time that I have finished it, I should have written 5 more, maybe, or something like that. But that would have been the smart move if I wanted to really be a novelist. So
Well, when you have time to
yeah,
look at like Amazon publishing, just
yeah, I may.
somehow
I
get it
was
out.
thinking self-publishing is easier when you have like a platform, like you're a speaker or something, and you
Yeah,
can take your book out there with you. And those are
right.
the people I see really excelling in self-publishing. As far as novels and things, I haven't. I guess a few have caught on and sold, I guess. But
There's a lot of cons you can go to, like book cons,
sure, I like
for
that. Yeah.
all different kinds, and it's kind of fun because that's a whole becomes a whole community of people, and you see the same
Hmm.
people again and again. You can like, say, oh, you know, whoever are you going to be at this con? We'll share a table or whatever, and it's fun. I did it for a while with my book, and
Nice.
I enjoyed it. I went to a few different places, and then I decided, yeah, I'm not going to fly anywhere anymore and carry my books to fly. I think I'll just, if there's if there's like one in Tarrytown and Boston I can drive to, that's about as far as I'm going to go.
Sure. That
So
makes sense.
yeah,
I have enjoyed being on your show. I really am
thank
flattered
you,
that you asked me, and
thank you,
I've enjoyed every second of this. Well,
thank
great.
you, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was a
Sharon, it
lot
was
of
nice.
fun.
It was nice to
Like,
meet you and everything. And
likewise.
good luck, you guys.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. So we are Abracadabra Sisters signing off. Please like, subscribe, hype, and all of that stuff. Thank
And
you.
comment,
And
comment.
comment,
We love to
comment.
hear your comments. If you enjoy your own creative endeavors, let us know. Reach
Yes.
out to us. We're looking to build a community of creative people here, and we would love to hear from you.
Well, I can hear the sounds of old Saturday nights, Main Street memories while I sit tight in the hometown bar. I'm visiting from somewhere else. I'm buying another drink, I pour it down, and I shake my head over this old town. Well, I take a look around. Does anybody know my name? Hey, bartender, mix me another drink. I think I'll step outside. I'll take a look around. It's been too damn long. I grew up out here, prairie wind in my ear, roots buried in the ground. Now I'm just a ghost in this town, but I can't let go. No, I can't let go. My goodness, there's the old barber shop where a fella named Bud, who drank a little too early and a little too much, used to cut my hair crooked. And off to my left is Johnny's grocery store. It's famous because at the beginning of the century before this one, Johnny's father was a world-class trophy hunter. So when you shopped at Johnny's store, it was under the dead-eyed stare of mounted trophy heads and bodies of exotic and in some cases almost extinct dead animals on the wall. And there's the old school building. It's been vacant now for over 30 years, but that's the building I went all 12 years with the same 11 classmates. And I don't like to sound like I'm bragging or anything like that, but of those 11 classmates, I was the valedictorian with a B- average. There used to be a movie theater right over there at the end of the block by the cafe where we'd flip coins for a turn at the pinball game. And people used to drive from miles away, and they saw every movie Elvis Presley made. The dust so thick on Main you couldn't see the cars. And all my friends, all my world was in this place. It held me tight, it still holds me still. I grew up out here, prairie wind in my ear, roots buried in the ground. Now I'm just a ghost in this town, but I can't let go. No, I can't let go. On Saturday night, we used to drive up and down this street in our Pintos and our Novas and our Dusters and our GTOs, hoping to talk to the girls who came here from other towns. And even though those girls were from other little North Dakota towns just like ours, maybe only 8 or 9 miles across the wheat and barley away, it did not keep them from becoming exotic and in some cases almost extinct in our teenage imaginations. Once in a while they'd stop their cars and it gave us a chance to try out clever new lines like, "How's it going? You want to drive around? I got a radio. It's got AM and FM. Got an 8-track too. Yeah, catch you later." Now the streets still as night, moon so bright it lights, cotton off the cottonwood trees floating in the August breeze. And as I stand here in the middle of Main Street, I think about all the souls that have come and gone in this little town. I think about my mother and my father, both buried north of here about 3 miles. And suddenly a door opens and a splash of white light spills out on Main Street. And somebody is standing in that light, and he's got his arms out. He's reaching out for me. He wants to talk to me. No, it's not a ghost. It's the bartender, the one who doesn't even know my name. And he clears his throat in the way people clear their throat when they think that they might be talking to somebody who's just a little bit crazy. And he says, "I just want you to know that it's last call." And I said, "Yeah, I know. I know. I know. I know." But what I really should have said to him was, what I really wish I'd have said to him was, "I grew up out here,